Okay, I think okay. So this is part two of making the Game of Thrones a throne or seat. But I think to get if you're going to do this right and in a more efficient way, we need to figure out a different way to do this than just placing every single sword that we see here. So let's see how we're going to approach that. Let me first switch back to studio view and random colors. So I think I need to do something like a mat that I can bend using modifiers to fit the different places that I want to put it. So let me duplicate this base frame, and let me create also the handle here. I'll just begin with let me create the handle as a separate object. Scale this on the x-axis. Let me see, extrude. Remember, we don't want to use a lot of polygons because we are going to need a lot of swords. So I'll scale this on the x-axis for the handle like that. I'll also maybe scale these individual origins like that, and extrude this again, and extrude this like that. I do need a loop here. Change this back to median point. This is not the best looking sword, but we're trying to be efficient because we're going to need a lot of these swords, and using a lot of polygons for one I would take up a lot of memory. So let me extrude this, and since we're going to only be seeing the front side, I'll delete the behind polygons. Can add some decorations here. Apply. Turn on smooth shading. Add a few more decorations here. Alt S to scale those in. Okay. So that is going to be our blade, the first blade. We need a few polygons for this because we are going to bend, we're going to create a weave that we are going to slap on here and bend them in different ways. So let's see how we can approach this. So if I duplicated this, Shift D, let me do this. Let me first duplicate a copy there, a backup copy. Shift D, and duplicate this. Maybe use my 3D cursor as my pivot point. Okay, that's why you need to change your camera angles a lot of times so that you don't run into these issues. So let's fix this by selecting everything, go to edit mode, then I can select these front faces and push them back like that, and reset the origin to geometry like that. And then now I just need to rotate these until I create something unique. And don't worry about the intersection, we'll come to that later. So maybe rotate them. If you hit R twice, you can rotate the mesh in different angles. So I'm just getting rid of those intersections. Now that we have that, we can select one blade like this, Shift D to separate it, and I just need to select that blade. So let me change this to median point again, duplicate this, we have that mess. So I think we can select everything, go to edit mode, and select maybe a loop or two. First of all, let's select these blades that are intersecting quite a lot. So these blades are without handles, so this this here, this here, this here. Go to edit mode, turn on proportional editing, but make sure you have, let's see, just turn on proportional editing, and for the fall off, select random, and we can select this. We need, it's only working for the selected, and I just want, let me see, projected. Okay, let me just join them into one mesh, and let's see if, okay, yeah, so that would work. So just doing that. So I'm trying to add some randomness here, so that we don't, so that they can, it gives the appearance of these meshes weaving into different layers. So maybe I can push these, and let me turn back proportional editing and turn it to fall off, change the fall off to sphere. So I just need some of these blades to weave through different layers of blades we have. So I can pull this, let me turn this the fall off to, or the proportional editing to connect it. So we have something like that, and so I'll just duplicate this on the side and then join them into a single mesh like this, and I'll add a plane. I'll rotate this 90 degrees, make sure it encloses a good percentage of the meshes, so maybe slide these down. Now we can subdivide these a few times, like that, and apply scalar annotation, and apply scalar annotation for this. Then I can select these blades and then go to the modifiers and turn on, let me make sure this is recording correctly, and turn on surface deform. Yeah, that's what we want, surface deform. let me see, there are two options that do the same thing, but the other, okay, there is mesh deform and surface deform. We want surface deform, and select this as our mesh, and then click bind. This will bind this mesh to this mesh, so that if you make changes to this, you can see that it controls the other mesh, basically like a lattice. So now let me just parent this to this, so that when I move the plane around, I can move this around. So I'll then drag this here. Now I need to bend this to follow this curve. So you can select this edge loop, turn on proportional editing, and what I will do, I'll snap my cursor here, shift right click, and then also make sure that the pivot point is set to 3D cursor, and then rotate this, maybe push the 3D cursor around until you get the proper angle, and you can increase the influence just a bit, maybe push this back a bit, like that. So I'm seeing this mesh and it's getting in the way, so I can go to the display settings and viewport display, change display as at wireframe, so that I only look at the wireframe of this mesh, and then I can select some of these polygons and push them in, so that this is intersecting like that. So you can even push in video vertices, select this, drag it back up just a bit like that. So it's not going to be the best looking seat, but yeah, so I think we also need more blades. So if I duplicated these, shift D, make sure you're also duplicating its control plane, but you see we're getting an exact match of these two layers. So what I can do is mirror these, Control M, mirror this on the x-axis, so that is not a direct copy, and I can come in to this mesh and start moving vertices around, so that we get a bit more variation. So you want to be very careful of these intersections that you're seeing there, and also because this mesh is separate from this, if you move the polygons too much, you might start seeing that it is the handle is breaking away from the blade, but that shouldn't happen a lot because we have enough resolution to avoid that. So let's see, you can see that we can also use this for this side. So I'll just select the blade and the mesh deformer, duplicate them, I'll rotate them 90 degrees, negative 90 degrees. I think I should scale them down. Also maybe change the pivot point to median, and make sure I have this selected. So I need to find a way to bend these down to follow the curve that we have here. So I just make sure, let me pull this up a bit and select these polygons, just so they follow the same curvature of the seat, like that, and select the top ones and bend them. You see, now we are running into an issue where we have more polygons than we have less polygons on the base control. Let's see, yeah, we have less polygons here. So what I need is to add more polygons so that we are able to control this better. But the problem is that if I try to subdivide this right now, it will reset the modifier, which is not something I want. So let's see what I can do. So I need to unbind Also, let me just use a different mesh completely, because that is going to be a little bit of work if I try to subdivide the plane and bind it again. So I think we're going to need a few more blades for this part here. So kind of proportional editing, make sure they are not too intersecting. Some going horizontally like that. Yes, something like that. And then we can add our mesh. Make sure it covers the entire piece. This time we're going to give it a little bit more resolution than we had before, so that we have more control. So I think that's good enough. Now I can select this and select, let me apply the rotation and scale just to be safe. Then select this and then bind. So again, if we move any points here, if I turn on proportional editing, you can see how we are modifying the mesh. I will again parent this to this so that I can control this better, and I'll also go to the display settings and change this from texture to wireframe so that we have something like this. And I can move this, rotate this, rotate this 90 degrees. Another thing to make sure you do is that these blades only have one side because we wanted to keep the polygon count a bit down. I deleted the other side that won't be facing the camera. So make sure that that side is always facing away from the camera so that we don't break the illusion. So let's move this back here, like so, and then we can start bending the mesh here. So I can start by selecting this top part. Make sure we have proportional editing turned on. Okay, we can bend it like this, maybe rotate it just a bit. And see, as I move the polygons, they're also stretching a bit, which is not a big deal. So I want this to be bent around this corner here. So I can add a cursor here, then change the pivot point to 3D cursor. Now I can rotate this, and while reducing the influence of the rotation. So you see we are running into this issue of these polygons just being way above the mesh. Let me see if I can fix that. But before I fix that, let me see. Yeah, so to fix that, I'm just going to apply the subdivision surface and the deformer, and delete this mesh. First clear parent, so Alt P, and then keep transform. Otherwise, if you delete this without clearing the parent first, this will snap back to its origin point because we have been moving the parent, and so the object was taking up the position of the parent, and now if we delete the parent, it doesn't have that data anymore, so it will just reset back to its origin point. So we need to first apply Alt P to clear the rotation and clear the parent and keep the transformation, so like that, and then we can delete this safely without losing the transformation of this object. So now we have this issue here where these are bending too much, so I can select them and their blades as well, and turn on proportional editing and push them down a bit, maybe even give them a slight rotation like that. So these are extending too much into the seat, so I'll rotate them a bit as well, and maybe I can scale them on the x-axis as well, maybe increase the influence a bit. Select these, scale on the x-axis like that. something of the sort. It's not perfect, but yeah. So we can just alt this one to make a copy, an instance, mirror this, or we can just use the mirror modifier. Let me shift S, cursor selected, mirror this on the y-axis. Make sure that the origin of this is set to the 3D cursor, so that is mirrored on the other axis. So we can get this other duplicate this, and I think we have a lot of handles, so I can select these handles, and the good thing is that we kept them separate from the blades, so I can select them using Ctrl L, delete them, so that we have this, and I can duplicate this a few times. Maybe let me turn off proportional editing for a second, just give that some variation. And I can select this, bring it at the top here at the front, something like that. I just need a control surface to deform it to the sides, to the shape I want. So just do this, apply scale rotation, subdivide this, why do I have this? So subdivide, select this, subdivide this a few times like that. We can use it as our surface deformer. Hit bind to bind this. Now we can bend the other parts with it. Then we also want to turn on display. Change this to wireframe so that we don't see it. So I can select this and see how I can bend. Let me do this. You know what, let me change this to 3D view so that I can look at this. Maybe turn off these, turn on random colors, so I can see how this bends from this view. As I said, this is not going to be very perfect, but I thought it would give me a chance to show some of the different tools that you have available to you, that you can use to make different things. So we can select, I think, these faces. I can turn on, set my 3D cursor there, turn on proportional editing. Let me look at this in this view here, and then rotate this. Okay, let me make sure that I have no other vertices selected that I don't want selected. Turn on change the pivot point to 3D cursor, turn on this, see how this is bending. Maybe we could just select a few polygons like that. And select this. So it's, the blades are going to be very disorganized, but I guess this set doesn't look that, the blades here don't look that organized as well. So yeah, And I think you guys can also do a better job than I'm doing here, because I'm trying to explain while figuring out how to do different things. But let's see. Can also slap. Let me apply. Let me apply this. Delete this. So we have a seat that looks something like this. Again, I should have kept the copy of this. Let me see. Yeah, so let me see. Yeah, can duplicate this. Let me first duplicate this and delete the instance. Apply and then delete. So I can also use this for this part here. Again, we need a control. Apply scale and rotation, subdivide these a few times like that, and select this, add a subsurface something, and yeah, bind. You can now play around with this. Let me change the proportion. Let's maybe select this. We're just adding more and more layers. Doesn't really look that bad, I think. Yes, so let's so if I apply this and delete this, can hide this, and now we have our seat. So we just need to add materials and everything. I will see how to do that in the next video. Thank you.